Hello and welcome to our parent education webinar called Experiencing Calm. I'm Jennifer Sheridan, the Family Services Coordinator here at the Coleman Center in Petal, Mississippi. And today we're coming to talk to you, or I'm coming to talk to you. There's no we here, it's just me. But coming to talk to you today about how we can support our kids in order that they can experience calm in their life, how they can manage some of these really big emotions that they have. Today we are going to be using the text. I can get my slide to advance. There we go. Called Raising the Challenging Child. This is a brand new book, How to Minimize Meltdowns, Reduce Conflict, and Increase Cooperation, by Karen Doyle Buckwalter, Debbie Reed, and Wendy Lyon Sunshine. Now, a lot of this information in this book is based on Theraplay, TBRI, if you're familiar with any of those like therapeutic and I would say family strategies, then a lot of the things in this book are going to seem really familiar. So I would say put it on your long to read list. But for us today, we're really going to focus on chapter 2, Let Everyone Calm Down. And I think calming is a hot topic. It means something different to all of us, I would say. But I think kind of a universal thread, if I were to ask you how you would define calm, like your child in a calm state. I think some things that we would talk about is being in control of our body and in our reactions. So not necessarily in control of our emotions, because emotions come and go, right? I mean, every 5 seconds or so, our emotions are changing from one to another. Maybe right before I clicked start on this webinar, maybe I was feeling nervous, but as soon as I started talking, I felt more at peace. I felt calmness in myself because this is something that I talk about frequently. And so, but just that quickly, these things are happening. As I get to a segment, maybe that's more personal. I might feel a little bit more anxious, or I might tell a story that is about one of my kiddos acting like a wild child. And then maybe I feel a sense of anger or disappointment. So all of these things come about because of our emotional reactions. But what we want our kiddos to understand is that they can feel emotions, they can have these feelings that come up, and they can experience them and they can get through them. Like we can pass through these emotions with support of a caregiver, and oftentimes within ourselves if we're older and we have been taught how to cope with these big feelings. But if we haven't yet taught our kiddos this, if we have not demonstrated either through nonverbal communication, so like I'm modeling how to do this, or we have just taught them something verbally, this is how I want you to react in this situation, and had them play it out, because I can tell my child something, they are not going to learn it until they do it with their bodies. I am in my 30s and have experienced, I think, a lot of life at this stage in the game. And I will often have these cognitive distortions that, I need to work through. And I can read a book on whatever it is it might be that I'm trying to work on within myself. But until I actually do it within my body, my physical body engages in it, my brain is not going to encode it quite the same way as when I'm engaging it. If somebody tells me one thing, that's fine. But if I do it, that's when I'm really learning it. And so all of these strategies we're going to talk about today, there's a lot of doing, which, guys, I understand can be exhausting. But here, the good news is that our children, we're like building a house, right? Our kids are like this house that we're building together with all of these other people. And what we've got to do is lay a strong foundation We're helping them build the structure to their life. And then as they get older, it's like they're decorating it for themselves, right? Like I might not have picked orange for the walls in their bedroom, but maybe they're decorating the inside of their life with bright orange and neon purple. But what I'm doing now as parents, what we're wanting to do is build this strong foundation for them so that later on, when the storms come, they have a solid foundation. And will they need help? Sure, I guarantee my kiddos are going to need help along the way. But if I've laid this strong foundation in early childhood, then what I do is I get to reap the benefits later on. And so we don't get to say, oh, I'm going to learn this strategy, and all of a sudden my child is about to be, the most peaceful and calm child ever. You don't get to say that. I sure wish I had like my magic wand to make that happen. That's not where we are, guys. And that's really not what parenting is. It's not how we were parented. It's not how we learned how to cope. If we're in a healthy state and a healthy place and we're able to cope with our stressors easily and in a healthy way, we didn't learn that. We didn't come to that. Some of us had to learn those coping mechanisms that are appropriate and healthy as adults, right? Because we weren't given the tools we needed as kiddos. So what we're doing here, we're understanding that calm is about equipping our children and laying this firm foundation for them so that they can be successful later, right? So that they can honor their personality, their wishes, and later on in life, and be able to make those wise decisions for themselves later on. But I want to be done, right? I want to be done with parenting. I want to get into that friendship portion of parenting, right? Which is what I get to enjoy with my mother now and my father now. But we're not there yet. If you're like me, I'm raising kiddos that are still in elementary school at this stage. I'm almost out of that stage, but for now I'm still parenting elementary age school kids. And so we're still laying that foundation, and the older they get, the more I see how they are building alongside of me this life that they want for themselves. So one of the best things I can do is equip them to be able to manage these big emotions and calm themselves, because I'm not always going to get to be there, especially as they get older, right? They have more independence. So let's look at some common mistakes that happens when our kiddos get launched into their back brain. So one thing we do as parents is bribe our kids, right? It's just so easy to do, like, because we want to get out of the house, right? We want to make it to church on time, or we want them to get to school on time because I don't want to have to go into the school to check them in. And so what we do is promising to buy them something or to take them somewhere. But the problem is with the back brain, when we're in this lower part where the amygdala is trapped in, right? We've talked about the amygdala. When we're in that thinking part, when we're in that reacting part of our brain, and we're not really thinking well, bribes are just not working. And so we're trying to control our children into behaving a different way, that their bodies and their emotional state behind the negative behaviors are telling us something completely different. So some of the things we're going to talk about in a minute, you may think, well, you're talking about a bribe there, Jen. I'm not talking about a bribe when I talk about empowering them with a snack or with some healthy foods or something that is going to get them alerted or get them ready for whatever it is we're about to enter into. That's not a bribe, that's meeting a need. And so what we've got to differentiate between that, because at some point, some of our need meeting might look like a bribe. And we just have to be honest with ourselves. We don't have to compare and say, like, well, what does Jen do with her kiddos? Well, who knows, guys? You're not there. Sometimes I'm not there. And I have another, my partner is there navigating those parental waters. And it might look different between, I have 2 kids, so it might look different between my son and my daughter about how we are getting them back into a more thinking brain so we can problem solve together. Another common mistake that we do when our kiddos get launched into this like back brain area, some people call it reptilian brain, is we yell back at the child. And gosh, I feel like if you have not yelled at your child, are you even a parent? I feel like we've all done this because we're all human and we all make mistakes, and we all kind of get trapped into this like mode of getting triggered, and then we have a hard time, which don't worry, we're going to talk about what you and I are going to do to help calm ourselves. But one thing we've got to realize, like yelling back at our kiddos is not the way we get them to experience calm. Same thing, giving harsh consequences in the heat of the moment. I think it was our last webinar, maybe the one before that, where I told the story about almost giving a consequence to my kids. We're riding in a car, they're like doing something crazy in the back seat, and then like all of a sudden I was like, you better stop or I'll, and then I just stopped because I realized what am I going to say? Like what is there to say? We're literally in a car riding down the interstate. There's nothing I can say. And then I just started laughing, and then it kind of became this playful moment between me and the kids, and they were like, or you'll what? And I just said, gosh, I don't know. I don't even know what I was about to say. I just felt like in the moment, oh, I needed y'all to stop. And then it kind of became this joke, and then we laughed and kind of got out of it. So giving harsh consequences in the heat of the moment is never a good idea. And I would say probably making ultimatums. If we can just step back and take a moment, and if you catch yourself, stop and say like, I don't know why I was just saying that. I don't want to say that. Let me try that again. Let me get a redo it. And that the fourth common mistake is just ignoring our kiddos, thinking that like this is just going to go away. There are some therapeutic strategies that encourage that. That's not how I roll. That's not really in my philosophy of parenting or in my philosophy. Now, sometimes do we all need to take a break because we're all about to lose it? 100%. Yes. This is different. This is taking a break and recognizing your own triggers. It's different from just ignoring your child and thinking, I'm just going to be able to ignore this away. It's kind of like that cry it out method, not into the crying out method, because I'm not meeting a need if I'm ignoring you. I'm saying that your need doesn't matter to me when I do that. So those are 4 common mistakes. Let's move on. Some warning signs that I want you guys to start asking yourselves in order to help you be proactive. So I want you to know, how does your child show fear? How does your child show anxiety? Now, like I said, this is going to look differently based on the personality of your child, right? So I have 2 kiddos. My son, this has been a couple years now. He went to his first big college football game at LSU's Death Valley. And if you're familiar with football, you're familiar with that stadium there. It's massive. I feel like those designers of that stadium and that campus, they just designed this to be intimidating, right? Thousands and thousands of people flock in this game, these big football games. And so he was there with dad and uncle and cousin. And so it's the 4 of them. They get out of the car. They're on this big college campus, which he's only used to small campuses because that's where dad works. But so he's on this big, huge college campus. There's thousands of people. They're going to see this parade. They've got the band. They've got the cheerleaders. They're going to watch the football team walk through. And what happens to my son? He goes into slow motion. Now, this is not because he is physically unable to walk at a standard pace. It's not because of that. It's because he was feeling very fearful and overwhelmed with anxiety. So what does he do? He goes into slow motion. Dad texts me later on after they're seated and they've gotten their hamburger and and everyone's eating and feeling good about where they are in the stands. And dad says, we went into slow-mo mode. And this is one thing that one of my kiddos does. Now, the other one is not. Now, my daughter, she is not going to show her fear or anxiety in that way. And so this is just one example of how our kiddos, we can look at them and say like, well, they're just being obstinate, or they're just unwilling to like keep up, hurry up, hurry up. But if I am being proactive and I'm like, oh, I see they're going into slow-mo mode, and I know that that means they're feeling anxious and they're feeling a little scared. So what do I need to do? I need to make sure I'm staying right there physically next to them, which is exactly what my husband did, thankfully, because mom's not there to do that. So dad is there meeting that need, seeing, okay, he's feeling a little overwhelmed. So I'm going to get him something to drink, perk him back up, right? And make sure he's hydrated, it was warm outside, and make sure he's feeling safe and secure. So I also want you to ask what happens physically to them, kind of like my son, getting slowed down. Do they slow down or speed up? Some of our kids get wired and their anxiety boosts that adrenaline and they've got to burn it off. And excuse me, do they become chatty or disengaged? It's another great way to kind of check in on our kids. This helps us to be proactive so we don't get to level 10. So maybe we're at level 5 and then we go through this list and we're like, whoa, some things need to happen. Like I need to start meeting some needs right now so we never get to a 10. So next we're going to talk about just some strategies. Okay, what do we do? I noticed that my kiddo is being triggered and now I want to help them calm. So number 1, I'm going to distract. Guys, I use distraction quite a bit here in the therapy room. Now, I have on here watching TV. Now, I don't have a TV in my therapy room, but I do have the best resource, which is me, right? And so I am always coming up with like a little game or like a little just verbal dance back and forth to get my kiddos to do something that they want to do, that they don't want to do. So because this is not home, this is the therapy office, I have appointments, right? And you got to get out when the time's up. It's like you got to go, right? Because there's somebody else, maybe waiting outside in the lobby. And so I use distraction a lot. It's almost like a magician you've ever seen. Magicians they're great at this, like, I'm doing something with my one hand and then the other hand's like doing the trick, but you don't even notice because you're distracted, right? It's all about the trick of the eye. This is what I'm doing with kiddos a lot and what I want you to try. So sometimes we can just distract our kiddos from what's going on, from this thing that's amping them up, and we can get them onto something else that is more calm or more desirable. So we can do this in several ways. Word searches if your kiddos are older. This may be a great way to get them off of maybe whatever they're fixating on. Even things like drawing out your emotions, coloring, adult coloring books, the ones with a lot of high detail. Some of our older teens can really get into that. Really helps them focus, be in that present, so they can calm their system. And then just things like exercising. I mean, I'm a big proponent of like, let's get outside and just like move. If we've got a lot of energy, we need to get out. So guys, we are not distracting to eliminate the emotion. So, excuse me, I'm not trying to just like get them to stop ever feeling angry. No, sometimes I want them to feel angry, right? Like anger sometimes pushes us to, get us moving in the right direction, out of something, for justice, for these things. So it's not that I don't want my child to ever feel angry. I want them to know how to appropriately manage that anger, which is exactly what I'm teaching them in all of these strategies. Not to eliminate the emotion, but to manage it in an appropriate way. Next, offer snacks. So this is where you're like, Jen, you just told me 4 slides ago or 3 slides ago to not bribe them. Okay, guys, let's take food out of the realm of like, I'm going to manipulate you with food, right? If you read articles about eating disorders, they will tell you like, we don't use food as a reward. and we're not using food as a way to like manipulate you, right? Food is an excellent way to bring nurture into our family system, into like a caregiving situation. Food is a great way to help meet needs. It does provide nutrition, thankfully. But sometimes food is there to help bring us back into the state we want to. So, what kind of snack does your child prefer? I've got one kiddo who's very into like the salty, crunchy. They're going to get the bag of chips if they have the choice. And then I've got another child that's into like the sweet and, give me that cookie over that crunchy, salty bag of chips. And so, are we doing this 24/7? Am I giving potato chips out? No, probably not. Not all the time. In our house, one of our rules is chips are not a snack. If you get chips, like it's probably because you're eating a sandwich or having a meal of some sort, and this is the preferred side option, right? But if I had a kiddo that needed some alerting, right? I needed them awake. I needed them to be tuned in to whatever it is that we're that's going on in our lives, then yeah, I might get them something real crunchy, real salty or sour, maybe like a dill pickle would be delicious and crunchy to alert them. Now, on the other hand, if I've got a kiddo that needs some calming, right? They need something to help them feel a little bit more at ease. I might give them a piece of sweet bubble gum because sweet is going to help calm us down. Am I doing this all the time? Am I passing out Snickers bars? No, that would be awesome probably if I did. But every dentist in Petal would be so upset at me if I just constantly, was passing out the Snickers or Reese cups. But am I going to do this in a very small amount? Am I going to couple this with a high protein, complex carb snack? Yeah, that's what I'm interested in doing. Because what I also get to do through offering them a snack is stabilize that blood sugar. But this is not just about nutrition, right? Like if I can sneak that in, okay, fantastic. But this is more about calming and comforting, right? Doing this like nurturing dance with my child because I'm providing for them this need. And so this is an excellent way to make this happen. So another way that we can calm is to play games. So we're looking for games that involve a lot of like eye contact, attunement, right? Fun games, card games, fun games that involve music or rhythms or beats, maybe where we're doing this back and forth, right? Like they do a beat and I mimic them, and then I do a beat and they mimic me. We're kind of going back and forth. That's a great way to get some attunement, if we feel very disconnected, and exactly when you feel disconnected from your kids. I feel it. I can like feel in my bones, like when we're all kind of doing our own thing and we're not coming together and we're just having like little tiffs all the time. That's when I say like, okay, we need to bring this back in and we've got to refocus, like everybody reconnect by doing something that, we all find enjoyable, or I find slightly enjoyable and they find really enjoyable. Sometimes we've got to dig deep into our like childhood memories to really remember, okay, that is fun. Playing Uno 20 times in a row, that can be fun, right? And then movement games. Some of our kids need a lot of like heavy muscle work, right? So we've got this proprioception in our bodies, right? It tells us where we are in the world. And so this heavy muscle work will help to do that. Be very calming, very grounding. Okay, so next I want you guys to help when we're working on calming, we're being proactive. I want us to figure out a way to offer an out for our kids. Because I get ways out all the time of doing stuff I don't want to do, right? Or I figure out a way towards getting a more favorable outcome. Even if I have to do the thing, I'll figure out what's the best way to do this to where I'm not totally miserable, right? And so one way we get to do this for our kiddos is we help to describe what's going on with them, right? So here in the example, I said, Tommy, you are tapping your foot. I think you might be getting a little anxious. Would you like to help me take the dog for a walk? So I'm giving him like this opportunity to engage his body in some physical activity, right? Doing that exercise. We're also getting some bilateral stimulation, which is very calming through walking, using both feet back and forth, back and forth. And I'm giving them this opportunity. So instead of saying, like, you're really angry and you need to stop being angry, like, you need to just calm down. I mean, guys, I feel like, where's that Taylor Swift song? You need to calm down. Like, we can't just calm down. We have to give our kids a mode in order to do that, like an opportunity to make that happen. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to describe, and I'm going to give that way out. Okay, next thing, use our tone of voice to get some attunement. So we're matching. We're kind of do some tone matching because I want them to feel validated. And so I'm communicating like, I see you and I hear you. So again, I'm not saying things like, don't act like that. Well, I mean, do I say stuff like that? Of course I do. I'm just like a human person out here. Parenting, two children that sometimes are acting like, wild ones in the house. And I'm like, stop, don't do that. But instead of just saying, stop, don't do that, what I want to do is like, okay, I see what's going on. And you really need to do like some gymnastics right now, right? So instead of walking on the back of the couch, which drives me crazy, what I want you to do is go pull your trampoline out of your room and please jump on that. I'm going to give them this opportunity. And so what I want to do is if I'm matching that, right? Like, so we're getting a little amped up. I'm going to come in, I'm going to match that, and then I'm going to bring it back down. I want them to feel this attunement. Like, I'm also mad at that kid. Gosh, that said that mean thing to you on the playground, right? So I'm getting mad with you, but then I'm bringing it down because I don't feel mad in my body, right? Like, I'm not letting my emotions get carried away. What I'm doing is I'm attuning with my voice, with my child, and then I'm bringing it back down, and I'm going to say, wow, that they had a hard day today. To say something like that, I'm wondering if they're having a hard time at home, right? So then I'm bringing some logic in there and some empathy, and I want them to, kind of say like, yeah, they said this really mean thing to me, but you're right. They have a really hard time at school. Like, they, probably are having a hard time at home. And then I'm bringing it back down. But if I immediately come in and my child is like, oh, they said something to me and I'm so mad, and I come in and I'm like, oh, but they probably, then I'm only siding with the one who is the oppressor, right? I'm only siding with the bully at the school. But what I want to do is I want my child to feel validated. I want my kiddo to feel like, I'm here with you. Like, I hear you saying this, and I too hate this. But I'm going to bring it back down, and I'm going to help you calm back down. We're going to think about this rationally, right? You're not going to do this in the moment unless you practice it. So give it a try, guys. Next thing that you can do is keep a cool down box, calm down box, whatever you want to call it. So I went and grabbed this one off of my shelf. Most of this stuff I got at Dirt Cheap because I love going to Dirt Cheap. You can find all kinds of cool stuff. This is Floof and Play Dirt. So it's like two different textures, like very fluffy. I mean, it's like light as air. This feels like dirt, but it doesn't really stick to your hands quite like mud does, but it has kind of a rougher texture. I have some tops in here. These little stretchy things. I think they're dinosaurs that you can just do it on there. And then I have like little fidget spinners. This one has like balls and a wheel and little buttons. I love the buttons. And then a clicker. Gosh, that's so great. And then of course I have like stress balls. And then some, what is this? Like Play-Doh clay. So this is kind of my calm down box. I also have like, this is like a little fidget deal. You could also include bubbles, all kinds of stuff. You figure out what calms your kiddo down. And like, maybe you don't know and you just pull all this stuff together. Maybe you have stuff like this randomly, or, sometimes I get stuff like this from training. So if you see a therapist or something like that, ask them, do you guys have any extra stress balls or fidget spinners or whatever? Or just put out on Facebook, like ask all your friends, hey, look for this. Make a box and then pull the box out. So we're not just like leaving it out. Maybe some of our kiddos would not be able to handle that, or they would end up in toy boxes, right? So maybe this is like a special thing, and you teach your kiddo, ask for the box, you know, maybe we name the box or whatever. And so we pull this down, and maybe we go through it with them in order for them to help calm down. And we figure out, okay, which one are we reacting the best to in the moment? And we go through all of them. Okay, tips for success. So we're going to remember to look for the feeling behind the behavior. So we're not just trying to like shut the behavior down, although sometimes, you know, I want the behavior to shut down, but really I'm looking for what's the feeling behind there, because if I meet that need, I deal with the feeling, the behavior is going to stop. I'm not worried about that. And I'm really getting in, I'm making this connection with them. So sometimes we're going to need to take a break before we can actually fix the problem. Okay. Sometimes here in the playroom, kiddos, don't ask kiddos to clean up, right? It's not a thing. Sometimes we're not ready for that. But sometimes we're going to distract and then we're going to do the cleanup. So sometimes we need to wait in order to help meet that need at a different time. Because you or I are, you know, we both may be triggered right now. And so I want you to use I feel when you statement. So I feel upset when you kick me. I feel hurt in my body when you kick me. Feet are for running and for dancing, not for kicking. Okay. So now I've addressed it. I told you how I feel. I didn't have to be sassy. I didn't have to be passive aggressive. I didn't have to get angry. I just communicated exactly what's going on for me because I want you to understand and have that empathy. So guys, we've got to learn how to calm ourselves. So here's 6 ways. Ready? We're going to breathe as adults. We're going to take deep breaths. We're going to model this for our kids. We're going to do this for our own well-being. We're going to stretch. Sometimes we need to take a 5-minute break and just stretch. You could do yoga. You could find 5,000 million bajillion. I don't even know how many videos on YouTube with people stretching or doing yoga. Do that. Number 3, we're going to have a snack. Guys, sometimes I just need to eat my granola bar, drink a cup of water, and then I feel better, like I have nourished my body, right? Or I smear some peanut butter on an apple and I just get after it. And then I feel more at peace, right? I've nurtured myself. I've cared for myself. Number 4, we're going to exercise. If it's nothing but taking a 10-minute walk after dinner, you tell your partner, hey, I'm going to go take a walk for 10 minutes and then I'm going to tackle bath time. Or I'm going to go take a walk and then I'm going to come and sit on the couch or watch a show with my kiddos or play a game with them. But I'm going to take care of that need. Number 5 is a butterfly hug. You just cross your hands and then tap at a real slow pace and close your eyes. And this offers some bilateral stimulation. It's based on EMDR, which we're not going to get into because it's a whole thing. But that's a great way. You can look it up on YouTube again, butterfly hug. And then number 6, sometimes we just need to be still. We need to sit down in the chair. We need to stop doing all the chores. We need to stop doing all the things that mamas and daddies are asked to do. And we just need to be still for 60 seconds, for 2 minutes. You can put a timer on your phone. If you're like, I hate being still, I always feel like I need to be busy. That's probably, number 6 is probably what you need to work on. So we're going to set a little timer. 6 minutes might be a whole lot of time for you, but we're just going to calm our bodies and feel more at peace within ourselves so we can help our children to co-regulate. Guys, this has been a super fast 30 minutes. If you have questions, contact us on Facebook. I answer a lot of the Facebook messages. Shoot me an email, jennifer.sheridan@pedalschools.com. Come by and visit us. Our next webinar is going to be Tuesday, March the 3rd. You can find all these videos, if you're watching this, probably watching it off YouTube. There's some more on there. Check them out. And guys, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you guys really learn to engage and help calm your kiddos in a great way so you guys can be successful. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.